Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC EduSec live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we have started with a new series on marketing and we have conducted one lecture so far. Dear friends, our previous lecture was an introductory lecture on marketing. Continuing our lecture further, that is on introduction to marketing from the point where we have left, and for this we have again with us in our studios Dr. Garima Gupta. Dr. Gupta is Assistant Professor in Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi. So dear friends, let's take advantages from our experiences and try to understand more about marketing. So first of all, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Garima Gupta. Dr. Gupta, welcome to the EduSet lecture. As we have discussed a lot on marketing in our previous session, I hope that all the students who might have watched the previous lecture would be benefited and would be benefiting through this lecture also. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, dear viewers, let's continue with introduction to marketing. To give you a quick recap of what we did in the previous session, we discussed what marketing is all about. We discussed what all can be marketed, right from goods to services to ideas to people to organizations to places. We also discussed marketing concept and had a little understanding of the key points of differences between marketing and selling. We also analyzed the marketing environment, where we discussed that the marketing environment broadly comprises of both the macro environment and the micro environment, whereas macro environment has components or factors or forces which are not in the control of the organization or economy as such. On the side of the micro environment, there are factors or there are forces which are to a very large extent in the control of the company. We also analyzed what is market segmentation, why segmentation is important, and what are the various bases on which a marketeer can segment the heterogeneous market. It could be on the basis of geography, it could be on the basis of product, it could be on the basis of customers, it could be on the basis of behavior of the customers, and so on and so forth. And last, we also discussed what is targeting and what kind of 3 targeting strategies are available with the marketeers. You can either go for undifferentiated strategy or differentiated strategy or a concentrated strategy. After analyzing all this, let's today move on to the next aspect, which has to do with consumer behavior. So first, one has to understand why to study consumer behavior. By and large, we no longer can take the customers for granted anymore, and we can't take the customers for granted anymore because of the simple fact that the consumers are diverse. They are diverse not only in the nature, but they are also distinct in the manner they connect with each other and with the other elements. Also, there are the factors and the elements that impact their choice to a very large extent. And when we talk about choice, we mean the choice that they exercise while they are making a purchase decision with respect to various products and various services. Also, there are different consumers that have a very different kind of needs, and they differ in their motives, and therefore the firm has to be constantly innovating and understand the needs of the customers and the change in the customer trends and fashions. We also understand that the marketing cannot be standardized, and the reason why it cannot be standardized is the fact that people tend to repeat behavior for which they have been rewarded. To give you a simple example, if a customer goes for the purchase of a good or service and feels absolutely satisfied after the consumption of the same, there are chances that he or she would like to purchase the same brand again in future, because he gets rewarded in the sense of feeling more satisfied by the purchase of that good or that service. Similarly, there are certain cross-cultural styles or cross-cultural habits that prevent standardization. People living in different cultures are accustomed to using different kind of products. Similarly, we know that there are language problems. So, the overall communication strategy, the way you advertise the product, the manner in which you promote the product has to undergo a change, given the fact that there could be different languages spoken in different parts of the world. Also, an understanding of consumer behavior actually helps in giving you a proper segment on which you can focus your attention. So, When it comes to selection and segmentation of the target markets, yes, the understanding of consumer behavior helps you. Devising appropriate marketing strategies which are relevant to a particular target market segment is also one of the reasons why marketeer need to understand how consumers behave and how consumer behavior undergoes a change over a period of time. There are evaluation of certain marketing programs and the strategies which are required, because of which you can undertake all those changes which are called for only when you have a clear-cut understanding of what consumers want and how their behavioral patterns are changing. You also have to assess the trend of change. It may so happen that the consumers are demanding something else because of the change in their taste, in their preference, in their liking, in their interest levels, and therefore all this change can be tracked when you minutely study how consumers behave. When we talk about consumer behavior, we say generally the consumer behavior can be tracked on two broad dimensions. On one side of the dimension, you have involvement, that is the extent to which a buyer is involved in the overall transaction of buying a good or a service. On the second hand, the second dimension talks about the differences between the brands that could be significant or large enough, and they could be very few. If we talk about the first cell, we say that when there are significant differences between the brands and the buyer involvement is also considerably high, we call it as complex buying behavior, like making a purchase decision related to the purchase of a, say, laptop or house, apartment, car, refrigerator, all those goods where you can still find a considerable differences between the options which are available to you as a consumer, and there are various parameters on the basis of which you make an assessment. On the other hand, we find that when there are significant differences between the brands, but the buyer involvement is low, we say it is basically the variety seeking buying behavior. So, the kind of behavior that you exhibit when you go to the market and shop for various garments, fashion clothing, accessories, shoes, all these kind of products involve less involvement on the part of the buyer and they indulge in more of shopping. It is a variety seeking buying behavior that they reflect. On the third side, we have when the buyer involvement is again low, but at the same time you also find that there are less differences between the brands, and therefore the consumers end up buying what they are in a habit of buying on a usual basis, and therefore we can say that this is a habitual buying behavior. So, you continue using the same soap, same shampoo, same brand of biscuits, bread, cookies, chips, and so on and so forth. So, you just do not realize that there is any need for a change because your involvement level as a customer is also less, and you can hardly have any significant differences that you can see when it comes to the choice of these products. As a fourth kind of a consumer buying behavior decision making, we have dissonance reducing buying behavior. This is very natural that once you have bought a product and once you have started utilizing that particular product, there is a dilemma, there is a dissonance. You start feeling, and that dissonance, that discomfort, that anxiousness arises because of the fact that the buyer involvement with respect to those products is high and you find less significant differences between the brands, so that you keep on thinking about the choice that you have not exercised and you think less about the choice that you have already made. Now, coming to the decision process, a buyer naturally does not come to the purchase decision right away. The overall purchase decision is broken into various stages, where the first stage is identification of the problem, or what we say is problem recognition. Problem recognition deals with the fact that unless and until the customer knows what his needs are, he or she will not start looking for the product. So, under the problem recognition stage, there is identification of need. After identifying the need, you go on for pre-purchase information search. You try to gather all that information which is available, which will help you in making the right decision. Now, these sources of information could be available at various places, and we would see in the subsequent slides what all information sources are available with the consumers. Afterwards, there is an evaluation of the alternatives, there is a purchase decision you make, and after the purchase decision, there is a satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Coming to the first stage, which is the problem recognition stage, your problem can arise inside or outside. Say for example, you want something to eat. You may so realize that you are hungry, or you happen to pass by a shop or a restaurant, and all of a sudden, because of the elements which are present in the external environment, all those elements act as a stimulus, and you realize that there is a need for you to eat something. All this understanding of the need and the requirement of the consumer helps the marketeers in tracking the motives that drive the purchases and that drive the choice of various products and services. Coming to the pre-purchase information search, we know that the consumers look for information. Now, where is this information about the goods and the services that are available in the market is present? This information source could be either internally located or externally located outside the organization. There could be personal sources like your friends, your relatives, your peer group, your colleagues, who may provide you with this kind of information. The commercial sources in the forms of advertisements and billboards and the other sources of information which are available to the public at large. From this information source, you can get to know what are the goods and services available in the market, what all brands are available on offer, and then it will help you in zeroing down your choice. So, suppose you come across 5 brands of soaps that are available in the market. On the basis of this information search, you go for the third stage, which is you evaluate these 5 brands of soaps on certain parameters, and all those assessments would help you in understanding and making a decision as to which particular brand of soap or shampoo or whichever product you are actually making a decision to buy, you should go for the same. So, the evaluation criteria will include aspects like what are the product attributes. So, you may compare one soap with the other soap on the basis of certain attributes or the brand image, or you may be making a comparison on the basis of to what extent the product characteristics that are available in the product are important to you. At the same time, in some cases, you may end up buying something as a rule of thumb rather than going by an assessment. Say for example, in the case of soap, you may end up buying a soap which you feel is the lowly priced soap, or the soap which is available at the low prices in comparison to what you would otherwise buy given the attributes of the soap. Coming to the fourth step, which is the purchase decision, we say this is a decision where a consumer end up buying a product which may be his preferred brand or may not be his preferred brand. At the same time, this may happen because you are influenced by not only the attributes of the product, the prices, the distribution network, the way it is promoted, but also due to a number of other factors that influence and govern your choice, like the attitude of others and the situational factors. So, you may end up buying something which may not be your most preferred brand. Coming to the last stage, which is the post-purchase behavior, as I have told you again, this is a stage where there is a constant comparison that a customer makes between what he expected and what he has actually got. So, a comparison between the expectation level of the customer with that particular product and the actual performance of that particular product helps him in making an assessment to the extent to which he feels satisfied or dissatisfied with his purchase decision. Then we say the gap. If there is a gap between, especially if there is a negative gap between the expectation and the performance, this causes discomfort or what we call as dissonance to the buyer. To reduce these dissonance or discomfort at the end of the consumer can either re-evaluate the chosen brands or can search for the information which would help him in reducing the dissonance and confirming his choice. So, he can ask for that piece of information from the personal sources or from the informal sources and get the assurance that yes, he has purchased the correct brand. The post-purchase behavior therefore deals with the satisfaction and the dissatisfaction that you feel after using that particular product. It also relates to the way you consume the product and dispose the product after consuming the same. There are certain factors naturally that would affect the choice of consumer or would also influence their overall decision making. These factors are broadly categorized under 4 heads: the cultural factors, the social factors, the personal factors and the physiological factors. Let us deal with these factors one by one. To begin with, we have got cultural factors. Now, what are the cultural influences? The cultural influences are composed of the influences which are there as a result of your belonging to a particular culture, a particular subculture or a particular social class. Now, when we talk about culture, we know that these are the norms or the beliefs or the preferences or the value systems which are handled and which are passed from one generation to the other. Like we have a distinct Indian culture. Within the Indian culture, we have got subcultures. We have got subgroups that are available, that are present either on the basis of religion or on the basis of age or on the basis of some other mode of behavior. So, we can say that subculture is nothing but it is a subset or it is a subgroup of culture with its own distinct mode of behavior. Then we have the social classes which are classified on the basis of occupation, income and your family background and dwelling, that is the location. So, we say on the basis of these parameters we can divide the overall society, the complete society on various social classes, and depending on the social class to which a consumer belongs to, he or she would like to use the product which are more in sync with his or her social class. Then we say there are certain social influences which includes the influences of the reference group, family and role and status. Now, what do we mean by reference groups? Reference groups are the groups to which you refer to frequently. Family is also one of your reference groups, and therefore, you would find that the members of the family generally make a purchase decision which is in sync. They also go for the purchases where all the family members exert suitable influence. There are certain members of the family who act as initiators, there are the members of the family who act as influencers, there are the members of the family who are the deciders or the ones who are the buyers, and maybe some other family member who act as the consumer for that particular product. Say for example, the family is contemplating a decision to go for the purchase of a new car. It may so happen that the child in the family initiates the decision by asking for a new car. It is the husband who buys the car and it is the third member of the family, say the brother or the wives, who get to drive that particular car. But all three members of the family would exert some influence in deciding as to which particular car they should go for. Then there is the concept of role and status. We say generally as consumers, we buy the goods and services which go well with the role and status. By role and status, we mean what kind of job profile we have, what kind of occupation you have. So, you would find students buying different kind of goods and services in comparison to those who are either into some sort of profession or they are into some other sort of services, or they require certain other goods and services which go in sync with the kind of roles and statuses that they have in their life. Then you have the personal influences, which include the influences with respect to a person's age, family, life cycle, occupation, income and so on and so forth. Like for example, I can say that a person who is of a younger age probably would go for clothes and would like to go for products which are very innovative in nature, but when you move in say the age brackets, when you grow old and mature, probably your liking with respect to the colors, prints, kind of fabric, the kind of clothes that you would wear would also undergo a change. Similarly, with the change in your income, your preference with respect to what kind of goods and services you would buy would also undergo a change. Similarly, your lifestyle pattern. So, given a particular kind of lifestyle that you have, you would be choosing certain goods and services. Then you have something related to psychological influences. We say when you talk about psychological influences, these are the factors that are related with your motives of buying something, your attitude, your overall perception, your learning and your self-image. So, we say when you talk about motivation, one has to understand what it is that actually motivates a person to undergo a purchase decision, that is the motives of buying something, buying a good or buying a service. We say motivation is considered as a psychological force. And why it is considered a psychological force? Because it is a driver. What drives or what impels a consumer towards making a purchase decision, that is taking an action of buying something. When you talk about motives, we say the primary motives is the needs that you want to satisfy through the purchase of certain goods and services. These needs could be innate or these needs could be acquired over a period of time. Similarly, the motivation can be positive. You feel motivated to buy a product because you feel that by buying that particular good and service, your needs would be satisfied in a positive manner. Similarly, we know that as individuals, our needs never get satisfied to a fullest extent. There is always something that we would continue to need. So, when one or we can say the lower set of needs get satisfied, automatically you are motivated to satisfy the higher order needs, and therefore you continuously buy the products which would then help you in satisfying your higher order needs. Also, we say the needs at a given point of time, they would be caused by the internal stimuli or by stimuli which are present in the external environment, that is in the outside environment. Coming to perception, we say your perception also to a large extent drives what kind of goods and services you will be buying and how you would be behaving as a consumer. Perception is nothing but a process by which an individual selects, organizes and interprets the stimuli. There are two inputs that interact to form perception. One, which is the physical stimuli, and the other, which is the input provided by individuals themselves. In other words, we can say perception, simply put, is the way you look at the goods and the services which are available in the market. We also know that because individuals are distinct, they would also be holding a different perception about the goods and services on offer. Coming to self and self-image. As consumers, often we tend to buy the goods and services which match our image or the image that we would like to create in the minds of others. It may so happen that I would like to buy the goods and the services which according to me are my preferred brands. I may like to go for a branded pair of jeans. But when it comes to how I would like others to see me, perhaps I don't want them to give an impression that I always wear branded clothes and therefore may end up buying something which is not a branded jeans. So, they say the kind of goods and the services that you buy also have to be in sync with the kind of image that you hold. So, generally consumers go for the purchase of the goods and services that they feel go well with the image that they want about themselves to be reflected to others. A single consumer is likely to act very differently with different people and in different situations. So, we know that when you are buying clothes for a specific occasion or a special occasion like wedding or a marriage in a family, you would be choosing something which is very different, something which is very unique. As against this, the kind of clothes that you would be wearing when attending a party would be very different from what you would be wearing while attending your school or office. Also, we know that the products and brands, they hold symbolic value for individuals, which also acts as an influencer. In different contexts, consumer might select a different self-image than the actual self-image. Then we know after going through all this decision making stages, one has to see how a marketeer would like to position the product in the minds of consumers. In the words of L. Rice and Jack Trout, positioning is nothing but how you position a product or a service in the minds of consumers relative to the competing brands. Positioning, therefore, is not what you do to a product, but it is what you do to the mind of the prospects. How you accomplish it, that is, how you position the products in the minds of the consumer. The simplest and the easiest way to achieve this goal, that is, to position your product distinctly in the minds of the consumer, is to get the first mover advantage, that is, to be the first one to come up with that kind of positioning strategy that you have in mind. Another way is even that it may not be your first attempt, or you may not be the first one to claim a unique position in the minds of the consumer. Try to have it very quickly in comparison to your competing firms. Also, the positioning for a product depends on the nature of the product. One cannot position generally all the products in a similar manner. Why? Because all the products are distinct. Either they serve distinct purposes or they serve the same purpose in a distinct manner, because of which you would like to position them differently. Again, to give you an example, there may be a number of health drinks which are available in the market, but if we see at those drinks closely, we would find that perhaps all of them are positioned very differently. Either they are positioned on the basis of their attributes, like you go for a health drink because there are certain distinct ingredients in that health drink which will help you in feeling energetic, or there is some other manner, say the price approach that they have followed to position that particular product. The same product by different marketeers can be positioned in a different way, because they are looking for creating a different niche and a different kind of an image in the minds of the consumers. The key is to look for a key insight, that is, what is an acceptable consumer belief. Like when Dove started for a campaign against, say, having a dry skin, it worked on the key consumer belief. The key consumer belief whereby this was a belief in the consumer mindset that the soap generally leaves your skin feel dry. And in order to tap on this key insight, they came up with a product of their own, a brand of their own. There are certain strategies which a marketeer and a company can follow to position their product uniquely in the minds of the consumer. It could be on the basis of the attributes or the benefits. Say for example, in case of cars, you can position the automobiles or the cars on the basis of a distinct attribute of those cars, like say safety, comfort, style, and so on. You can also position a product on the basis of user approach. So, you can show who all uses those products, generally the celebrities. So, you show the celebrities using a product, which is one of the way of uniquely positioning it in the minds of the consumer. There could be a price and a quality approach. We all know that price and quality go in sync, in the sense that consumers generally consider those goods which are high on their price to be also of good quality. So, you can use it as a positioning strategy, saying that because the good is of good quality, therefore it is priced as high, and this becomes a unique positioning strategy for the product. You can also follow the competitors' approach, that is how the competing firms have positioned their products. Either you can go for a contradictory or a reverse kind of a positioning strategy so as to give your product a distinct edge, or you can continue with the same kind of a positioning strategy, looking for some different aspects whereby you can create a distinction of your product with that of the competing firms. Having done all this, we now are in a position to understand what is marketing mix. So, broadly, marketing mix is nothing but a combination of 4 P's. These P's are product, price, place and promotion. At the same time, one has to understand that there is lot of interdependency between these P's. One cannot take any marketing decision, be it a firm or an industry as a whole, when you are considering the consumers and the kind of products and services you would like to launch in the market for those consumers. One cannot take an isolated decision when it comes to any distinct P. That is, the product cannot be decided in isolation without giving due consideration as to how it would be priced, how it would be distributed and how it would be promoted in the market. Similarly, the way you go for distribution strategy have to be in sync with the nature of the product. The nature of the product and the promotional strategy would actually decide as to what would be the final price that you would be charging from the consumer for that product. The price in turn depends on your distribution channel, the nature of the product and the kind of promotional strategy. So, we can say that all these 4 P's are very much synchronized with each other and we cannot take an isolated marketing decision with respect to any of these P's. They have to be taken in unison. Coming to the first P, which is product. When we talk about product, we say this is something that you offer to the market for acquisition, attention, use or consumption. That is, anything which is in the tangible form that you are providing to the consumer to buy, use and consume is nothing but a product. But this is a very narrow definition of product. Product also includes objects, services, personalities, places, organizations and ideas. This is something that we have already done when we say that these are all the different aspects of marketing. These are all the things that we can actually market. We also have different products that keep on coming and entering into the marketplace, and any change in the physical form or the design or the color or the size or even packaging, any minor change in the product actually gives rise to a new product. The concept of product also includes services that accompany the sale, what we also call as after sales services. Let us understand the product layer concept. We know that the product has many layers. At the core level or at the central position is the core benefit or the basic product which is available. After the core level or the core layer is the expected product. After the expected layer, there is an augmented layer, and outside the augmented layer you can see there is a potential layer. Every product is designed in such a way that it would be having all the layers. To take an example, you can take wristwatch as a product. Now, the core benefit that the wristwatch provides you is that you can see time. You expect that your wristwatch would always tell you the correct time. The augmented product in a wristwatch would be to add some features in that wristwatch, like in addition to telling you the time, the wristwatch will also give you the sense of direction. Along with this, there could be number of other features that you can add to this product, which would take you to the last and the final layer, which would be the potential product layer, which includes all those things which are possible to be done with that particular product over a period of time. So, you can in future add some other mechanism to that wristwatch, so that if you want to have access to internet, you can have the same in your wristwatch. This would be the potential product. So, every product you can identify its core or the basic benefit or the basic offering, along with what is the minimum expectation that the customer has with that product. You have the augmented layer where you would find most of the competition taking place between various products and the brands, and at the final layer you have the potential product. Also, when we look at the nature of the product or the service offering, we say that the service offering or the product includes the core product and it also includes the after sale service. There would naturally be some delivery processes involved and there would also be certain supplementary services available. Supplementary services in the form of enhancing services and the facilitating services. All these services actually either enhance the appeal of the product or the service or facilitates its use, consumption and availability by the consumer. After having done that, we would now try to understand what all is included under product decisions. So, when we talk about product decisions, we talk about the width of the product mix, the length of the product mix, the depth of the product mix and the kind of consistency. Let us analyze them one by one. When you talk about the width, it means the number of different product lines the company carries. So, suppose there could be a company which is into furnitures also, it may be into locks and security systems, it may be into say music and CDs, it may be into personal care products. So, all these 4 lines of businesses are its width. The second, that is the length of the product mix decision, involves the total number of items within a product line. So, suppose you are dealing with furniture which is one of the product lines. Within furniture you can have total number of items, that is furniture for office use, furniture for houses, furniture made of different things like cane, wood, plastic and so on and so forth. There could be different variants that you can offer within each product in the line, which is nothing but the depth. So, you may be having different models or different variants of wooden furniture available, or you may be having different variants when it comes to revolving chairs. Then you have what we known as the consistency, where we try to understand the extent to which the products are related to each other either in their use, their production requirements or their distribution channel. So, the kind of commonality that you can have or you can find between different product lines would actually tell you about the way they are related to each other or they are consistent with each other. Let us now understand the classification of products. We can broadly classify the products as consumer products, business products and services. Now, the way we have classified the overall products, it is clear that when we talk about consumer products and business products, we are talking about goods which are mostly in the tangible form, whereas services includes goods which are in the intangible form. Coming to the consumer products, they can be broadly classified as convenience goods, shopping goods, specialty goods and unsought goods. When we talk about consumer goods, these are the goods which are meant for immediate consumption by the consumer. So, you go to the market and buy all sorts of consumer goods which would suit your needs and requirements. It could be bread, butter, biscuits, soap, shampoo, toothpaste and so on and so forth. There are the goods where the consumers exercise considerable degree of information search and they are also moderately involved with the purchase of these goods. These goods are known as shopping goods. So, you go to the market and shop for certain goods because you are looking for variety and you are exercising moderate level of involvement coupled with the fact that there is some moderate degree of information search that you exercise before you make a purchase decision with respect to these shopping goods. There are goods which are known as specialty goods because by their very nature they are the goods which are not bought on a recurring basis. They are the goods which are bought less often and therefore, for the purchase of these goods or for the decision making with respect to these goods, there is a sufficient degree of information search and there is a sufficient degree of consumer involvement, like buying an apartment or buying an expensive jewelry item. There are goods that remain unsought. These are the goods that are not sought for by the consumer till a certain stage. So, unless and until the need for the goods arises for the consumer, these goods remain unsought. So, for example, you may not look for Encyclopedia Britannica unless and until you feel that there is a need for you to read a book of this type, or you feel that there is a need for you to purchase this product. Your need for buying a cream like crack would not arise unless and until there is a need or there is a problem recognition that yes, you need a product which can take care of your cracked feet. So, these unsought goods remain unsought for most of the consumers, or for the consumers that have or that you realize that there is a need for these products, they get converted into sought after goods. You also have business products, which includes products like the raw material, parts, fabricating material, accessories, operating supplies, nuts, bolts. These are the goods which are required by business. Here we can understand the difference between the consumer goods and the business products. The consumer products are the products which are required by consumers for their ultimate final end consumption, whereas the business products are the goods or the products which are required by the businesses, and the goods are not purchased for their ultimate consumption, rather for the resale purposes. So, some sort of other exercises and processes are involved, and then the goods are available in the finished form to the consumer, who then uses it for his or her ultimate consumption. Then we have the concept of product life cycle. We know that just like individual, the product also passes through different stages. These stages are known as the life cycle stages of the product. Right from the stage where the product enters into the market, grows, matures, and finally also witnesses a decline stage where eventually it has to be withdrawn from the market. All these stages distinctly presents various challenges for the marketeers, and for each stage a different marketing strategy has to be formulated and developed. Let us understand what a product life cycle looks like. So, this is the diagram of a product life cycle. As you can see that there are different stages which are shown, right from the introductory stage to the growth stage to the maturity stage to the decline stage. In each stage, the profits that the company enjoys, the kind of expenditures that are involved, they keep on changing, because each stage is distinct and therefore merits for a different kind of attention and different kind of marketing strategies. Let us understand the characteristics of different stages of the product life cycle. Starting from the introduction stage, we generally see that the customers in the introduction stage, or those who buy the product right in its introduction stage, are the consumers who are innovators, who are innovative in nature. In the growth stage, we would find that the customers comprises of the mass market. In the maturity stage also, there are large group of consumers or the mass market consumers, they buy the products, whereas in the decline stage, it is only the loyal consumers who would continue to buy that particular product. If we compare it on the basis of profits and cost, we would find that in the introductory stages of the product life cycle, the profits and the cost have a very different kind of a role to play, or you earn, in other words, you have different profits that a company earns in different stages of the product life cycle. In the introductory stages, you generally won't find any profits. Why? The reason is that the product has just entered the marketplace, and it would take some time for the product to grow, mature, and start giving benefits or profits to the company. In the growth stage, we find that the product has gained some momentum, and therefore the profits have now started coming in, pouring in this stage. In the maturity stage, they reach the peak and then they start declining, to a result that in the declining stage you would find falling profits. Similarly, where the costs are very high in the introductory stage because of the reason that you have just introduced the product, you would find in the subsequent stages the cost coming down, with the cost coming at a very low level in the decline stage, because here you focus your attention on introducing some other changes, knowing that the consumer has now entered a stage where the product is fast reaching its decline. Therefore, we say that there are different marketing strategies that one has to adopt in different stages. If we analyze the marketing strategies in the introductory stages, we know that the launch strategy has to be consistent with the product positioning. We have discussed that you can position the product on various parameters, either on the basis of attributes or on the basis of use or on the basis of price or on the basis of some other aspect that probably the competing firm has not tapped. The promotional program is designed to stimulate the demand for the product, because you want the product to do well in the subsequent stages. So, in the introductory stages, you make all the efforts so that your consumer would get to know about this product or the service that you have launched. In the growth stage, you would generally find the strategies to be more focused on sustained rapid market growth for as long a time period as it is possible. Also, the firm faces a trade-off between whether you would like to have an increased market share or you would like to be satisfied with having a high current profit. In the maturity stage of the product life cycle, we know that some modifications are required. These modifications could be in the form of modifications in the market, where the companies try to look for the consumption which is increased in the form of using more of the current product by the consumer. So, you modify the market, or the second option is to modify the product by changing the characteristics such as the quality of the product or the features of the product, so that it is presented to the consumers as a new product, and therefore, it would attract new users or would encourage people to use it more. Modifying the marketing mix is also one of the options which is available in the maturity stage, and this involves improving the sales by changing one or more of the marketing mix elements. These marketing mix elements could either be in the form of product or price or place or distribution. Understanding the decline stage, we know that in the decline stage, the marketeer or the firm is under considerable pressure, because they know that now is the time when the product has to be withdrawn from the market. So, either you drop the small segments or you cut the promotional budgets, thereby reducing your prices, reducing your cost, and doing all that which is just giving you a temporal relief in the sense of prolonging your life cycle stage in the decline stage. Also, we know that this is a stage where you try to maintain the brand in the hope that the companies will leave the industry. We know that there are certain entry and exit barriers. So, in the decline stage, you hope that the competitors would leave the industry, thereby giving you more share of profits to enjoy. But this is a stage where the marketeer has to think fast, because now is the time when some new marketing strategies are called for, because the product has reached its decline stage. Also, one of the strategies which is available is to harvest the product, that is to reduce the cost and hope that the sales would hold up. So, even if the sales are not increasing or the sales are not improving in this stage, you can always have a sales which have been stabilized. Let us understand the new product development. Now, why the new product development comes into the picture is the fact that the existing product has reached its decline stage. So, before it is finally withdrawn from the market, the firm has to take steps to introduce a new product or a product in a new form to the market, and therefore, the cycle would once again continue in the similar manner. But there are certain challenges or there are certain situations which put the marketeer in a state of dilemma. These stages are the shortage of the new product, ideas. It is not very easy to get a new product idea and to convert that new product idea into a usable product form. Also is the challenge that you would find often the markets are fragmented, and it is not possible to come up with the product which is new in its form and its attributes and its composition for different markets. There is also a considerable pressure and considerable constraint that you feel from the social side and from the government side. It is always costly to come up with a new product, and the entire costliness of the whole process of developing a new product at times deters the marketeers or the companies to come up with a new product. There is also a problem of capital shortage, and the very fact that the shorter lifespan of successful products is an indication to the marketeers that even if you come up with new products, it is no guarantee that the products would continue in the marketplace for a very long period of time. Eventually, there are changes that would be called for, and eventually the product, no matter how good or how bad it is, would pass from one life cycle stage to the other life cycle stage in the due course of time. Let us now understand the kind of new product process. Now, we know that because it is a developmental process, it is a process where we are trying to develop a new product, it would be composed of different stages. Again, the stage would start from idea generation. You need to have a new product idea. This product idea you can generate either on your own or through certain brainstorming sessions or through, say, some sort of a discussion with industry experts. After you get the idea, you screen the idea in terms of to what extent it would be feasible for you to continue with that particular idea, or the extent to which you feel that the market would respond to this new idea. Next comes the concept development and testing, where you test the concept of the product as such. That is, when I take this kind of an idea to the market, would people like this kind of concept? You come down to the marketing strategy, formulating the marketing strategy related with that concept. You also analyze the business in terms of the extent to which you feel that this business idea, if given a practical shape, would be profitable and would be a viable business proposition for your company. You develop the product and test market those products in the form of prototypes. So, you prepare the product and distribute the sample of those products, or you create the miniature versions or what we call as prototypes of those products and take them to the market to see the reaction and response of people towards that particular product. And the last stage is the commercialization stage. So, when you know that the product is doing well or the market has responded favorably and positively to that kind of product launch, you can make a decision to finally launch it on a commercial scale. You can launch that particular product in the entire market if you so wish, or you can restrict the commercialization of that particular product in some smaller markets or with some selected consumer segments. And once you realize that the product is doing well or has a potential to be taken one step up, you can go for the growth and the expansion plans. So, in today's session, we have understood marketing in little more detail. We have analyzed what could be the various ways in which a product can be positioned in the minds of the consumers. We have also analyzed as to how consumers behave and how their behavior is governed and is influenced by a number of factors, which could be the cultural factors, the social factors, they could be psychological factors, there could be other factors which are present in terms of the social class or in terms of roles and in terms of statuses in the society. We also analyzed as to what kind of decision making consumer generally exercise, ranging from complex buying behavior to variety seeking buying behavior to a habitual buying behavior or to a very routinized kind of buying behavior, and there is always a possibility for each one of us as a consumer that we would be experiencing some sort of dissonance after buying that product or a service. We have also learned how the product is developed, how it enters the market, and how there is an automatic transition of product from its one life cycle stage to the other life cycle stage. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving once again a very productive session. Dear friends, if you have any queries or if you want to give your feedback regarding this particular lecture, then you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in. And if you want to access this particular lecture, then you can access it with the help of the YouTube. Very soon, this lecture would be uploaded on YouTube, with the help of which you can study this lecture ample of times. Thanking Dr. Garima Gupta again, and I hope that in future sessions also we would be discussing more on marketing, and we would try to bring out something new for you so that it becomes convenient for you to get maximum knowledge on the topic marketing. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.